So I kind of went on a holiday review, I guess, over the holiday weekend of just completely shit movies. So I'll probably be posting a few of these today, hopefully. But I'm going to kind of break it up into three measures because I did watch quite a bit, and some of it's related, so it doesn't make sense to review one movie after another, or review one movie in one tape and another movie in a second tape. So we're going to start off with the order I was working on. I watched Slumber Party Massacre 1 and 2. Now, I'm pretty certain I've never actually seen these movies before. It's always possible that at some point in time in the 80s or 90s I just rented it and just don't recall. But I'm pretty sure I've never seen either Slumber Party Massacre. As I understand it, there was another one, but I can't seem to locate that one online for free, so I'm not going to review that one. Maybe at a later date if I find it. At any rate, both movies are pretty shitty films. I mean, obviously they're borrowing a lot from films like Halloween or Friday the 13th, things like that. And the first one, actually, I will admit, was the better of the films, which is usually the case in bad horror movie series. Essentially, it's basically your escaped lunatic gets out and stumbles upon a bunch of people and he kills them. It's a pretty basic horror plot line, really. But the basics of this is the film takes place at a slumber party, mostly at a slumber party. But the killer gets out, he finds his power drill, and he uses it to kill people. Now, I'm gonna say that as in terms of acting, it was not good acting. I'm also going to say in terms of the plot pacing, it wasn't paced very well. And the effects obviously are 1980s effects, which I'm going to leave that standing as is. But the film itself as a story was not a horrible story. And even the guy that played the killer was not horrible. I mean, he even had one scene where it was halfway decent. But overall, he basically stumbles upon this slumber party, and there's like several girls there and a couple boys peeping and things like that. And he eventually, eliminates them one by one by one. That being said, if this film had a higher budget, better acting, a little better directing and story placing, you probably could have had a decent film. As 80s knockoff slasher films go, this one's not as bad as I imagined it would be. It's not a great film by any means, certainly not even anywhere near the level of a film like Friday the 13th or even a lower tier movie like My Bloody Valentine or Terror Train. I mean, maybe it's the level of Terror Train, maybe a little bit lower than Terror Train. But there was potential there, is what my point of this is, in Slumber Party Massacre. There was definitely potential there. It definitely is something that was worth seeing once at least. Only because if you like horror, it's actually not a bad film. As for, like I said, there was potential, it just never actually reaches that potential, and that's probably the problem. Slumber Party Massacre 2 is a fucking train wreck on every level. Every level. Basically, it takes off from... ironically, you would imagine these films probably wouldn't have much continuity, but this one did have a little bit of continuity to it. They basically stopped and said, alright, well, the girl that survived the first film, we're just going to recast her as a completely different actress, which is Crystal Bernard, by the way, and has to be one of her more embarrassing roles. Even though the killer was killed, and by the way, you gotta love the symbolism in the first movie. The killer kills people with a giant power drill, so he's got this big drill bit, obviously drilling through people. And at the end of the film, before he gets killed, the girl, our big star of the film, who I have no idea who she was in the first film at all, takes a machete and hits his drill bit and chops it in half. Look at that symbolism. She cut his drill bit off. Wow. But then she cuts his hand off, and she ends up killing him. And I mean, he's clearly and truly dead. There's no way that he's not. At any rate, the makers of the second film were just like, yeah, fuck it. We're going to recast the main actress. We're going to recast our villain. And it's not like they stopped and said, okay, well, we're going to have our villain be a different killer. They literally just said he's the same guy. He's the killer that was the killer in the first film. But for whatever bizarre reason, he's back haunting her dreams. Almost like a Freddy Krueger-like situation. So I was kind of intrigued on the concept of what's going on with this? Where are we going with this? What are we talking about? Is he really out there, or is she just mental, you know? But for some bizarre reason, they recast the killer, and they made him into what I can only describe as if Ben Stiller were doing an impression of Andrew Dice Clay. Okay? You got that picture in your head? And they gave him Prince's guitar, the weird shaped guitar, with a drill bit on the end of the neck of the guitar. Instead of having a power drill, he had a power guitar drill, which was beyond stupid and ridiculous looking. Not to mention the fact that he's dressed like Andrew Dice Clay. As if this couldn't get any dumber. Because you would think at that point, hey, I've hit the highest level of this is stupid I could possibly hit. He actually has a few musical numbers in the goddamn... I can't even say it without laughing. In the goddamn movie, he actually has musical numbers while he's killing people. It was so bad, so terrible, so ridiculous. I would love to say don't watch this movie, and on most cases I probably would say don't watch this movie. If you need a good laugh at something unbelievably bad, you should watch the movie. And it turns out that the whole movie realistically is the character has been in a mental institute the entire time, so whoever's torturing her is really just, she's out of her mind. I know, I gave away spoilers for two films from the 1980s. At any rate, it was really, really an awful series. I don't know how bad 3 is, I can only imagine, but there was little or no effort to make the second movie a worthwhile film in any shape or form. I mean, I can dig deep and find some redeeming values in the first film, but the second one, God, it was awful. Slumber Party Massacre 1 and 2.